Moving right along, we are now at the Super Nintendo portion of my game collection. And boy, there are some dandies in here. Starting right off the bat, this is Chrono Trigger, and ladies and gentlemen, this is probably my favorite video game of all time. No pun intended there. But I just love everything about this game. Thank you, John. My good friend John introduced me to this game way back when it first came out in 1995. And I just have nothing but praise for this game. I remember going over to his house. Show you the back of this box one more time. But I went over to his house, and he was playing this game one night. And I just remember being completely mesmerized by the music, the atmosphere of the game, the story, the characters. Everything about this is just unbelievable. And I would say that the story is still one of the greatest stories I've ever heard and ever seen in a video game. I'm not going to spoil it for any of you that maybe haven't played this game yet, but this right here is probably number one. I say probably only because the top of my list is so close. Like, everything is really close, but Chrono Trigger, I think that's the one I'd go with right there. Number one. Great game. Absolutely amazing. Contra 3 The Alien Wars is a really tough game. It's really good. It's a lot like Contra and Super C, just better graphics and sound. But really difficult. I remember the last stage was brutal. But a heck of a game. And then we've got, here we go, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. I just love everything about this trilogy. I remember how impressed I was with the first one when it came out in '94. And I would even say that the second game, and they're all great, mind you, but the second game, Diddy's Conquest, this is a top 10 game in my all-time list. It is that good. It is platforming gold in every sense of the word. And it's just so fun. Everything, the graphics, the music, the controls, the secrets, the atmosphere of the game. Once again, atmosphere is really big. It's really big for me when it comes to a good video game. The great ones seem to have this atmosphere that just makes the game that much more special. And you know what? It's probably my third favorite in the original trilogy, but don't sleep on 3. 3 is a really good game as well. The only gripe I ever had was it was just kind of weird being the baby, Kiddy Kong. That was my only gripe. Dixie's awesome. I never felt like Kiddy Kong was all that great, though. Just a minor deal. Great game, though. F-Zero, classic. I remember watching my friend John play this one right when the Super Nintendo came out. I think this was a launch game. Very good. Final Fantasy III, also known as 6. I refer to it as 6 because that is the Japanese name of the game. Final Fantasy III, 6, whatever you want to call it. First Final Fantasy game I ever played. First one, and still one of my favorites. I absolutely loved everything about this game. A very good story. Story in this game is outstanding. Special memories. There's something about playing the first game in a series, whether it be Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, you name it. See if I can get that into focus. But this game right here, everyone, Final Fantasy VII is a great game. I'm not going to sit here and bash 7. But 6, I never have felt like that game got its due. Because it's every bit as great as any other game in the series when it comes to story, depth, character development was great in that game too. Gradius 3, moving right along. Gradius Guide, I remember a voice in that game even saying Gradius. I do not know how to say the name of this game properly. I just call it Gradius, but that's just me. I'm sure that a lot of you probably know the correct pronunciation. But great game. And a tip my good friend John taught me in this game was, I believe there's an ability that allows you to get a smaller spaceship. Instead of a force field, it causes your spaceship to get probably 1/3, maybe a half of its original size. That's better than the force field because it's really hard for enemies to hit you when you have that. Just a little pointer. Here's an interesting one. This is probably one of the more intriguing oddballs, anyway, of my Super NES collection. This is a reproduction, by the way. It's not the original game. The original game is super rare. It's Hagane, The Final Conflict. Think of Ninja Gaiden meets Strider. It's a tough game, very obscure, but the gameplay is actually quite good. This is one of those hidden gems most gamers never got to play. You gotta love the rental exclusives, right? Like Flintstones Dinosaur Peaks, the NES one that's almost impossible to find for the same reason. Then you've got Illusion of Gaia, a solid game there. I believe that was part of a series of games. And I think there was, Sky Blazer was one of them. I'm a little rusty right now. I've only played the other games like once, but Illusion of Gaia was one of them. Legend of Zelda Link to the Past. Gotta have that one, right? Super NES collection is complete without that one. I need to play that again. I haven't played that in a while. And you've got Mega Man X right here. You know what? Sometimes people will ask me if I prefer the Classic series or the X series. And my answer, the sentimental favorite's the original series for me, but I love the X series as well. It's more of a grown-up, adult-themed Mega Man series. A little bit more dark, a little more serious, but it's amazing. It's just amazing. I've got nothing really bad to say about this first game. I remember how hard it was. My cousin Mike bought this. See, I didn't have a Super Nintendo until, I think, 2000. I did not get one until then because I was such a stickler for the NES. And thankfully, my cousin Mike, he bought a lot of great games, which gave me the chance to play them as a kid before I actually owned a Super NES. And X2, also a great game. I don't have X3. I always felt like X3 was a bit weak, and it's also really pricey. So that's the reason I don't have that. I think I might have that for Virtual Console. Super Castlevania 4, superb game. And you know what? It just occurred to me. I do have 3 Castlevania games in my collection. I don't know why I always seem to forget this one. Because it's a great game. I think it's somewhat of the original game somewhat remastered, if you will. It's its own game, but it definitely shares some similarities with the original. Love the controls. This one finally got the controls right. That's the thing I remember about it. You could actually move in midair, and you had a kind of a cool ability where you could hold a button and just dangle your whip around your face. Good way to get bats, Medusa heads, whatever. Mario Kart, great game. One of the first racing games I recall feeling like, this was a great game. And I loved Rad Racer as a kid. F-Zero is a solid game too, but Mario Kart, that game is just so fun. Multiplayer option too. Mario RPG, I would say Mario RPG is probably on that short list of classics I own that I haven't played in a really long time. I might have not played this game for 10 years, as crazy as that is. I need to play that one again. Super Metroid, it's just a superb game. I played that fairly recently. It's a great game, and it's really hard. It's easy to get lost. That's one thing I forgot about it. I knew the original game was like that, but easy to get lost. But that's a top-tier game right there. I talk more about some of these, but obviously, Mario, Zelda, Metroid, I think most people know how great they are. Turtles in Time might be the best Turtles game, although it's a tough call because I like them all. I always felt like the Manhattan Project was much better than people realized. But that's a great one. Tetris Attack. Now, Tetris Attack is nothing like the original game. I'll go ahead and pull that out real quick. Nothing like the original game. But what you do is you line up. See how you have the 4 yellow blocks lined up? You can line vertically or horizontally. You can switch any 2 blocks that you want. And I haven't played this game in a long time, but I never understood why it wasn't more of a success. It was a late-release Super Nintendo game, but it's incredibly addictive. For anyone who's played it, I imagine they feel the same way. Great game here, and I haven't played that in forever either. I'll have to play that again. Might be for a fun video, just because it's such a, it's just an unheralded gem, really. Then you've got Tiny Toon Adventures. Konami, like Capcom, was so good at taking any whatever they worked on, whatever games they made back in the early 90s were just gold. They were just gems. I don't know what happened. I'm sure there's a story behind it, but unfortunately they're not what they used to be. But at least back in the day, Tiny Toon, they made some good Tiny Toons games. I think Buster Bust Loose was the best one of the bunch. Which brings us to the PlayStation 1. And what better game to start with if you're looking for funny box art or case art than this guy right here. Bust-A-Move 2 Arcade Edition. I mean, just look at that. I mean, you've got some guy with toothpicks, or whatever they are, trying to stay awake. I mean, the game, what can you say? It's just that addictive. Just like it says on the cover. Should be illegal. But it's the Bubble Bobble based game where you have dinosaurs, you have bubbles, and you try to get like colored bubbles. I think 3 or 4 of them in a row, and then they pop. And you want to get to where you can get the ones that are holding everything together. That's how you get the combo attacks. Great in multiplayer. Great game. My friend Wesley had this game. He had the long box version, if I recall. And yeah, it's, my wife actually loves this game. It's that addictive. Although she has something to say about the cover art. I do not blame her for that. But Bust-A-Move 2, Symphony of the Night, one of the greatest games of all time right there. I have absolutely no disagreement with a lot of people who feel the same way. Just a wonderful game, super game. Although I gotta say, the reason I got a PS1, the game that got me to get a PS1 was this one right here. There's a lot of good games for the PS1, don't get me wrong. But Chrono Cross, this is the one that pushed me over the edge. I just had to get one to play this game. And it didn't disappoint. It's a great game. Other than the ending. I thought the ending was just not very good. But other than that, it's a really, really good game. All-time classic without a doubt. And Final Fantasy IX's right there too. That's another great game. I'd say Final Fantasy 6 and 9 are 2 of probably the top 3 Final Fantasy games in my opinion. We'll be getting to the number 1 game shortly. Tactics was great. First strategy RPG I ever played was Tactics. Gradius Gaiden. I'd say this is the best Gradius game. And it's funny because it's the one game that we didn't get, other than Gradius 2. The one we didn't get, and it's a great game. Just have to wonder why certain games didn't make it to the US. Although I think there's a PSP game, but it came forever after the game was released. Mega Man 8 Anniversary Collector's Edition. I know a lot of people hate this game. Yes, the voice acting is atrocious, but I still vouch for it. I still think it's a really fun game. I just remember playing it with my friend Wes. I just remember it being a fun game, and of course I still play it. One of my good friends, Josh, played this game. I think he said something like 20 times last time I talked to him. But it's a good game, Let the haters hate, I say. Mega Man X4 might be the best game in the X series. I'm saying might, because 1 and 2 were pretty amazing as well. But X4, there was the first game you could play the whole game as X or Zero. And I always choose Zero. He's just so fun to play as. He's more like a melee fighter than X. Nothing against X, of course, but that's just me. And then moving down, we got X5, X6. Xenogears, great game. If there's any game that I own that could use a remake, it's this game right here. Because this is an amazing game. The story and the music are to die for. It is incredible. The graphics, the visuals. So it's a shame because my brother will not play this game. In large part because of the graphics. I think that's the only reason. So, boy, it'd be nice if they could just remake it, Moving right along to the PS2. We're getting there, folks. I know this is a long video. Let me just say this about the PlayStation 2. This console is loaded to the teeth with RPG greatness. It seriously is. I've never seen a console have so many great role-playing games than the PS2, and you're going to see why as I go through here. Disgaea 1 and 2, amazing. These are amazing strategy RPGs. These are 2 of the best. and they are hilarious. I literally laughed myself to tears playing these games. Dragon Quest VIII, I think this might be the first game I ever pre-ordered. I used to have the outer case, kind of like a sleeve. Not really a sleeve, but it's just an outer case. I do not know what happened to it. I must have maybe tossed it. One of my stupid moments, But I would vouch for this game. This is one of the greatest games I've ever played. And it's easily the best of the Dragon Quest series, which is a great series of role-playing games. Final Fantasy X. I know they've done a remastered version of this for the PS3 and 4, I believe. This game, I believe, is number 3 on my all-time list. It's the best Final Fantasy game I've played. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but that's all right. I just felt like everything was good. You have a relatable hero in Titus. You have a really good story, the music, the visuals, the atmosphere. It's just great games have the it factor, and I just feel like 10 had it for me. Nothing against 7. 7's a great game, but I would take 10 for sure. That's the one I would take. Gradius 5, solid game there. Super hard. I mean, it has old school difficulty, trust me on that. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, wonderful games. I mean, the Kingdom Hearts games, I haven't played them in a long time, guys. Long time, but might be about time for me to fire them up again. This is a kind of a unique one here. You wouldn't think that a PlayStation Mega Man game would be rare, but Mega Man X8 for the PS2, really good game too. This is a really fun game, and it's a shame that it's so hard to find. I wonder if it has anything to do with X7 being such a failure. I wouldn't say X7 was horrible, mediocre at best. But I think that game probably did not do any favors to X8 because X8's really hard to find, which is a shame because it's probably one of the best games in the X series. Let's see, the Namco Museum. This is where I get my Pac-Man, my Galaga fix. Outrun 2006. You know what? This game here is known, I guess it's special to me because it was the 400th video game I beat. And I actually beat it on my 30th birthday. Which is fitting. Mr. Nintendo, they called me, so might as well beat a game on my 30th, right? But this was number 400. And it was a fun game. It was a lot like the Sega Master System game, just with better graphics and sound. The typical retro type of deal. Shadow Hearts 1 and 2. 1's really hard to find for some reason. Really rare. Shadow Hearts Covenant was a gift my sister gave me. Thank you, sis. Great game. Great game. Both of those are really good games. If you haven't played Shadow Hearts, you are missing out because it's a special series. And then Persona, Shin Megami Tensei. I have Persona 3, FES, and 4, and I might as well show you. I've got the Premium Edition. I got 5 right here. And for good measure, I've got Morgana watching over the TV here. So, let's see if I can get this into focus. There we go. It's the Slime and Morgana. Morgana is from Persona 5, by the way. But Persona, I'm telling you what, guys, Persona, if you love role-playing games, especially JRPGs, and you really enjoy anything that's anime-related, just play this game. Do yourself a favor and play this game. Play 3 and 4, because these are some of the greatest games I've ever played. Very thought-provoking. The depth is impressive. Nothing but greatness. Great things to say about those games. Sonic Mega Collection is a great place to get your Sonic fix. Taito Legends 2 is a great place if you want a good classic arcade game like a Hat Trick Hero or an Alpine Skiing. Which brings us to what I consider one of the holy grails of video gaming, the Xenosaga RPGs, the trilogy. These are some of the greatest games I've ever played, and Xenosaga 3 is literally my number 2 game on my all-time list. The story is amazing. It's as epic as it gets. The music is beautiful. Very thought-provoking. This is just one of the greatest games you will ever play. Xenosaga. Yeah, I don't want to miss those. Those are some of the, and I'll tell you, 1's way up there for me too. And the first game blew me away as well. 2 is probably my least favorite, but it is cool because it focuses on Junior, who is one of my favorite characters of the game, along with Cosmos, Chaos. Just don't ask my brother about Shion. Don't ask him about Shion on that one. I'm sure he's laughing. He's watching. YS, the Ark of Nephistum, was a really fun game. This was actually, once again, I don't know if I'd say great, but it was a solid game. It was one of the few YS games I've played. And the music was really what jumped out at me. As you can tell, if you don't know already, music's very important to me in a video game. Gameplay, of course, is huge, story. But if a game has great music, I'll tend to maybe overlook some of the other weaknesses it might have. But YS, it's a good game. I really enjoyed that one. Bit Trip Complete, I have solely because of Bit Trip Runner. That's the only reason I have that. The other games are pretty average, but Bit Trip Runner is worth having this just to play that one game. Donkey Kong Country Returns was really good. I was really happy when that game came out. My brother loves Kirby, so I always think of him when I see Kirby's Dream Collection and Kirby's Return to Dreamland. It's odd. This game's actually, Return to Dreamland is actually really hard to find, as is Klonoa. Both really rare. I don't know why that is, because they're both really good. But, oh well. Twilight Princess might be my favorite Zelda game, actually. I was really impressed when I played that game just a couple years ago. Skyward Sword was a lot of fun. I actually have the gold Wiimote for that one, which is pretty cool too. Mario Kart. A lot of these are some of the more new common games, so I might not touch go over them as much. But Mario Kart, Super Mario Wii, both a lot of fun. Punch Out. A lot of good games here. Wii Sports Resort and WarioWare, both two games we really enjoyed, friends and family playing together. Xenoblade Chronicles. This right here, special game. And this is actually the inverted cover art. That's why if it looks a little different than what you're used to. Yeah, see how it says Xenoblade there? Yeah, if you just flip the art over, you get this really beautiful cover, which is pretty cool. But Xenoblade was the 500th video game I beat, number 500, which was a huge milestone for me personally. And couldn't have picked a much better game. I can thank my brother. He encouraged me to go after this game as my 500th, and I did. I wouldn't say it's as good as Xenosaga, but it's still pretty dang impressive, I have to say. You've got the Wii U, moving on to the Wii U, and as you can see, this is, other than a few games, okay, to be fair, there's a few games I haven't played yet, but there's not a lot with the Wii U. But what you do have is impressive. Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. My brother and I have beaten that game together, but we have not found all the secrets yet. It's the only DKC game I haven't been able to get a perfect 100+% on. So that might be something that might make for a fun video. I don't know. DuckTales Remastered right here is beautiful. Beautiful. I'm not a big fan of the remake, generally speaking, especially of such a great game as the NES game. But you know what? They really did it justice. They really did it justice, and that's saying a lot, because the original NES game was darn near perfect. I mean, there's a reason most people feel like it's a top 10 NES game. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, play Remastered. I mean, what they did was amazing, and Scrooge, the voice of Scrooge, is actually in that game. And you know what? It's kind of funny. I'm not thinking too well because I can't remember his name. I know, sad, right? I'll remember it later. But he actually did the voice for Scrooge in this shortly before he passed away. But Mario Kart 8, beautiful game, probably the best Mario Kart. The NES Remix Pack was a lot of fun. Here's a game. If you haven't played this game and you're a Mega Man fan, Shovel Knight is a great game. Absolutely amazing. I was very impressed when I played this. Forget Mighty Number 9. Just forget it. This is the spiritual successor to Mega Man right here. Just trust me on this. This is coming from someone who's beat Mighty Number 9. Do not waste your time. Just play this. And If you have a Wii U and you don't own this game, what is wrong with you? This right here is the reason to own a Wii U. Super Smash Brothers. And let's see if I can find him. He's somewhere in there. Guest stars join in. Where are they? There they are. This is the game that finally allowed Mega Man to be in the party. Finally let Mega Man, and there's like the Pac-Mans in this, Little Mac. It's an awesome game. Just play it already. Contra 4. Remember how earlier I said go straight to Contra 4? Here it is right here for the DS. Yeah, we're getting to the portable now. Contra 4 is right there. And I've got more of my DS games kind of sitting around here. This was a really special game. Special. I know that Dragon Quest 8 is my favorite. But this one right here, it's up there. It's up there. 8 and 4, and then maybe 5 is what I'm thinking. That's my favorite. It's a very special game. This one meant a lot to me. The story, it's so memorable. Great game. Great game there. Dragon Quest 9. This one not as good. I mean, it's pretty forgettable. But I've actually played over 400 hours of this game. Which is, I know, it's ridiculous. But I do have my save file on here, so I didn't find everything either. It's a huge game. You've got Professor Layton, all these games. By the way, Professor Layton rocks. If you enjoy a good puzzler, just play the Professor Layton series. Radiant Historia, I wouldn't say it's a great game, but you know what? The music's really good. And the story, it's like it tried to be Chrono Trigger in a way because the time travel was executed very well. But it's just good. You know, it's just one of those very good games, but just doesn't have the greatness. Still worth a play, though. Then you've got, let's see if I can get everything lighting right here. Okay, Retro Game Challenge is really good if you can see that. And that was kind of tricky. Retro Game Challenge, really hard to find, but really fun. WarioWare, anything WarioWare is just addictive and fun. Bravely Default, my good friend John got me that. Great game. Dragon Quest 7. This is one game that needed a remake, and it got one. And it's really fun. So, thank you, Square, for making a remake to that. That's a game that needed it. You know, Fire Emblem, I got some Fire Emblem games. Of course, Zelda Ocarina of Time, which was really fun. You know, I'm not drinking the all-time greatest game ever made, Kool-Aid, but it's really good. I'll give it that. Mario Kart 7, you know, Super Smash. And then here you've got all the games I haven't played yet. This is my must-play stack, I call it. And Persona 5, except Persona 5. I did beat that game. I've played that game a ton. And I also beat WarioWare Twisted, my only Game Boy Advance game. And then you've got Xenoblade. I can turn this off here. I don't think I need it. Xenoblade Chronicles X. This is a game I need to beat. I played a ton of this game and just haven't finished it yet. You know what? I have finished Bite Kaitos, so don't worry. That's a game I've played. It's really just this lower stack here. And Professor Layton. We got Bravely Second. Got some PS4 games down there that I'm looking forward to playing. Nier Automata, Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted 4. You know, a couple of Zelda games in the corner, Link Between Worlds, Majora's Mask. A couple of GameCube games I hope to get to eventually. I've heard great things about them. You know, some more Wii and Wii U. Breath of the Wild, I do have that right here. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to getting to these games. They all look great. But that is it. That is really all I wanted to show you as far as my game collection goes. You know, of course, I got to show you my case for my 3DS games and this beautiful Mega Man case, which reminds me, I almost forgot to show you this guy. This is a limited edition Comic-Con Mega Man cover. Now, if you can read that, 14 out of 200. So, I think I got this on eBay a few years ago. I used it, and I went ahead and just transferred to this one. Why not? You know, I got 2 Mega Man cases. You might as well use them. So, in any case, I appreciate... Yeah, sorry for that camera work there. But I appreciate you watching this video. You know, it's been a lot of fun to share my game collection. I look forward to hopefully putting some videos together of me actually playing some of these games. If you haven't checked them out, check my Passionate Announcer videos out. Quality's not the best, but we had a lot of fun making these videos, and there's some humor to be found. Even I find myself watching them from time to time. Thank you for watching this video, and happy gaming.